Hey everyone, it's Kelly here. Let's talk about how I created this winter scene. Tiny skiers and snowy trees in watercolor, and oh my gosh, this makes me miss Maine. So I think this is the cutest little painting, so simple, so easy, great for the holidays. This is me out there skiing at the lake house, middle of winter when we lived in Maine. And if you've ever seen a little picture of someone like far away and you're just like, oh, I just want to be there, these are the perfect little things to paint without a lot of detail, but you still get all of the feels. All right, so let's get ready to dive in. All right, for materials, you don't need a whole lot. You need your watercolor paper, some watercolors. I'm pretty much just using ultramarine blue, sap green, and some white. You can use either white gouache or you can use like bleed proof white. And I do have a little bit of black that I use. So really simple, basic colors. You could also go with like purples or some other shades, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to start out with just using some water and putting in my ultramarine blue, skipping some places because I do want to leave the illusion of some snow in there. Now I mixed up some sap green and I'm just tapping in some green over the top. So this is all wet, so you can see where things are kind of moving around, blending. I am using my Strathmore watercolor cards for this one. And I will say, I think they changed the texture a little bit. It's still okay, but it's not doing the same thing it used to do. But Strathmore watercolor cards are still my go-to if you're just practicing or you're just playing around. You want something inexpensive, but it's still good paper. This is the way to go. Get these, cut them in half, and you've got like two 5x7s instantly. So this is probably the cheapest way I found for some good watercolor paper. But they have changed things a little bit. The wet into wet is looking a little bit different. It dries fine, but it does give a little texture. So I've left some of that blue down below. Those are the nice little shadow areas. And we're going to now paint a little person in here. It's going to be my little snowshoer. It could be a skier. You can do whatever you want with this. If you are a downhill skier, maybe you want to do that. So you're going to start with a little square shape. I'm going to give him a blue jacket. And if you have not yet watched my watercolor people, Tiny People, this is a great one for you to watch. I'll post it up here for you. Check this one out if you want some practice on Tiny People because they are so cute and you can get such personality from these things. So I have a little square for the body or the jacket, and now I'm popping in on the top a little hat. Now go with this, whatever kind of shape it pops into. This one looks like it's got like a little beanie hat with maybe a little pom-pom on the top is what I went with. I did another one of these and it looked like my husband had his hat on backwards. So just go with it. That's part of the charm with painting the tiny little shapes. And then I added some black for the little legs. Keep them small. You don't want them too big. And then some just extending the shape of the body up at the top, and so it looks like little arms. And then I'm going to put some little sticks he is holding for his snowshoes. And we've decided he's snowshoeing. So I'm going to make this a little bit wider so it looks like a little snowshoe maybe, or a footprint. It could be either or. And then little dots for your ski poles or for your walking poles, snowshoe poles, cross-country ski poles, whatever you've got. If you want to add skis, just put some lines and then make those little footprints, little extensions of more lines. It looks like they're cross-country skiing. Super easy, right? Yes. So now I'm going in with a little bit of green and a little bit of blue, and I'm going to go a little darker with my pigments. Again, this is still wet, but it's still moving a little bit, which is what I want it to do. If this is completely dry, you're going to get a stark line on this, which I do next. I dry this. So I want like those layers of trees so it gives it some depth in there. I will go even darker on the next round. So you're just going to tap in those trees. Again, keep it messy. You can see where the colors are just kind of blurring in there. So it's not a big deal. This one is a little bit drier. You can see I've got a little bit more definition on this one. Throwing some of that color too down below. And I'm doing this all wet and too wet. If you are living in an area where it's super dry, you might have to work a little bit quicker. If you've got the heat on, you might have to work a little quicker. So this is all part of practicing and getting to know your paper and your humidity levels in your home because that can change throughout the year as well. We usually here in Mississippi, it's super sticky and hot. So it's winter or going into winter now. It's cooler. The temperatures are cooler outside and things are drying so much faster. It's crazy. I've got my heat on inside the house too. So that'll do it. Blowing heat. Throw in a couple more trees. Again, I've got a little bit more definition there where it's dry. And you can see I've got some tall trees, some shorter trees. I'm trying to give a little bit of variation in there. Keep putting some more in. This one has a little bit more detail in there. How simple is that, right? So again, I'm going with a darker color, testing it out here. I think this is going to be a little drier. And I want to go darker. So I've got, look how many shades of green we have there, greens and blues. You can even add a little bit of black to it if you want to darken it a little bit. Add brown, what have you. Whatever you've got for colors in there. And remember, you don't have to go with the blues and the greens. I did another one with purples. It was absolutely gorgeous. So have fun with it. Just kind of play around. Pick your favorite colors. It could be any color. It doesn't have to be natural. I mean, even you have purple kind of huey skies with gray tones. I mean, you can just really have fun with it. So now this guy, he's a little bit drier, so I'm making his legs a little bit longer. I realized he was just a little too short. It looked like a kid instead of an adult skier, which again is fine too. And I've got that background now all completely dry, so I'm going to add a little bit of white just to separate that out a little bit and give a little definition in there. Let me come in a little closer for you. So if you are clicking here, thank you so much. And I want to be able to give you the information that you're looking for. So if you could leave a comment down below here and just let me know if you came here for alcohol inks, for watercolor, if you just want to learn how to paint, or if you want to learn more about being an artist and some of the tips and tricks there, how I sell my work. I would just love to know kind of what things you're looking for 2025. Sometimes people just want to watch, and that's fine too. If you're just interested in it's relaxing for you to watch, that's good too. So just leave me a comment down below and let me know what you're looking for, because I want to make some changes in 2025. All right, so for me, making a lot of layers of trees with different colors of green, and I get darker and darker as I come closer, that seems to work for me, making it look a little bit more realistic. It also helps me when I go to add the white snow to this, because it really pops out a little bit better. If you have green that's just a little bit too light, the stark white just doesn't show up as much on it. So another reason why I like to add the darker values. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop these in here. Again, different heights. And you'll notice too, I don't have this going straight across. I like to have that slant to my composition. And I did this one vertical. I've also done these horizontal as well. But even when I do it horizontal, I've had some of them that are straight across. I've had some of them that come down at an angle, and I just prefer the angle. I think it just gives it more of a feel. I have no other way to describe it right now. It gives me the feel. And then I'm bringing a tree down in the front, so you can make little smaller trees down the front. You could pop a few more on the left or the right hand side down closer to you if you wanted to. So it's all about whatever you want. Even like a little tiny Christmas tree with snow. You could put the lights on it or some Christmas ornaments. That is what is so great about painting. It should be stress-free. It should be like for these, I've done this one 3 or 4 times now for my Etsy shop, because it sold like right away. And I've sold this one a number of times. I actually even have cards I made years ago of a very similar one called Ski Buddies. So I've done the same thing, but each one of them looks so different every time. So now I'm just taking a little bit of that green, just softening, maybe adding a little bit more blue, kind of a little mixture in here to give it a little bit more texture. I just felt it was too white. I've done the really white ones with barely anything. It was just snow. But this one I wanted to add just a little bit more, maybe a little shadow under there. Again, just very, very light wash. It's just really tinted water at this point. And that's really all you need to give it a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to pop another one in there. Now I do have that wet, so you can see where that does run a little bit. Again, I'm okay with it. It's just going to soften everything up a little bit. I can go back in and dry it and add more detail if I want, but I'm going to be putting some snow over the top of this, so not a big deal. All right, so I let that dry. I'm going back in, like a really deep color, green, very, very dark. I added a little bit of black to it, Mars black. Now, one of the things I wanted to mention when I'm doing these type of paintings, I try to be super loose. I'm messy. It's more of a feel. So you can see I just kind of wiggle that brush around. I don't get too carried away with having everything perfect. And I think that is what is part of the charm with these type of paintings. They don't have to be perfect. I don't want you to make it perfect. Well, you can make it perfect. You can make it perfect if you want to. You do you, right? But my big thing is I just love the messiness of it. I love the looseness of it. So now I'm grabbing my bleed proof white. I've got a pretty big brush, so this is giving me some really big snowflakes. Again, it almost looks like it's really close. Like if you were watching a movie and it's snowing directly in front of the camera lens rather than far away. If you want that real fine mist, grab yourself a toothbrush and splatter with a toothbrush, and you'll usually get finer dots. Another thing you can do is not a lot of water. The more liquid it is, the more it splatters, the bigger they are. If you have it a little bit drier, you get some tinier little splatter marks with a small brush. So then I like to go back in with my brush and actually add a little bit more snow so it's landing heavily onto those trees. And that's another reason why I say don't get too carried away with the perfection of your trees, because when you add the snow on top of it, again, you know, when snow falls, it falls wherever the heck it wants to. It doesn't fall like perfectly in piles on top of your tree. So once you cover it with some of the snow, again, it just kind of becomes part of the scene and everything is not so perfect. But once again, if you like perfect, go with perfect. You could have perfect little balls of snow on there. It's okay. I just happen to like that looseness and it's just fun for me. And I think it's working with the other side of my brain. It's not working with the perfection. I call it my feels. This is my feels kind of painting rather than, you know, like a commission painting or something like that has to look exactly like a picture or a photograph that they've taken. This one is just more about intuition, your intuitive side. And I think that's where you really get lost in your paintings more so than you do when you're working in something that has to look a specific way. Another student of mine had just asked about masking fluid and she said, do you use masking fluid? And I said, you know, I use masking fluid sometimes, not very often. And usually I use them when I'm doing my commission paintings because I have to plan it out. I have to know where I'm going to have my highlights, where my shadows are going to be. With something like this, I let the paint tell me where it wants to go, what it wants to do. And I have a lot of openness or a lot of what's the word I want? I can never think of the word when I need to. A lot of freeness to let it just kind of appear on the paper, and I can put a tree wherever I want. So it's just easier for me, I think, that way because I can just go with my feels rather than exact. So if you like this one, please check out my other video with tiny people. I'll leave it linked up here for you on the right-hand side. I think this is going to really help you if you're struggling with painting people, if you're scared to put the little skier in there. It's really actually quite easy and you can practice that. And real quick, if you're still looking for something for someone that's a crafty or artsy person, please check out my Patreon. You can gift it this year. How cool is that? And it's only like $5, $8, or $12. You can do whichever one you want. But we do this kind of stuff once a month in there. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to click the like button, subscribe, and we'll see you in 2025 for a whole new year. Bye.